You're listening to the New York Said Podcast.
Fear not, my friends. This will be my greatest performance.
Give it to me.
Here we go. We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
I always have this bad habit, and this is maybe a good habit. I don't know. I just like jump right into the conversation, right? But what I really should be doing is saying like, because sometimes people are like, so who is this? What's happening? Like they just start talking. So can you give people an idea of where you are presently? Because I know you're working on several projects.
So right now, I have my own creative firm. It's called MPC Studio Plus, and we do from interior design to creative direction, graphics, branding, and we work mostly with buildings that need repurposing. So buildings that were something at some point and then they need a new life. So that's my forte, to create like a new identity for these buildings, give them life through design, through interior, but also the branding aspect is very important, to also like the social media aspect. So it's kind of like the full package of how to bring a building back to life. And yeah, so I work on that. I love doing that because it gives me a lot of freedom to be creative in a way, because my clients trust what I do, and I just like to keep my work fresh, and I have a great team, and yeah, and we're working on different projects. One of them is one that is like my milestone project is called Bellworks in New Jersey,
yeah.
and it's a huge 2 million square feet building. Is huge, as the size of the Empire State Building. And basically it was like 8 years ago, I started working with the developer here and the architects, and we gave them a new life, and part of that has been through design, through creative direction, events, bringing the vibe, what we call to the building,
like because it's a
Yeah.
huge like behemoth of a building, and it's extraordinarily historical. But
Yes.
to see what you did with it, so can you talk about walking into basically a blank canvas and saying,
Mhm.
is it something that's kind of like a beautiful mind? Because it's 2 million square feet. Like, so you walk in and then you just start kind of like your eyes turn white and you're like, oh, this is going to go over there and this is going to go over there. And we're
No,
gonna do these
no.
string lights. So how does that happen? Or is it happen like in
Well,
layers or over time?
in layers, definitely in layers. But I definitely, something that really like inspired me was the vision that the developer had, like his like way of describing what he saw already that didn't exist. So he was talking about this little city in the middle of suburbia and creating this vibe inside this building. And I
Is that
I
called like the
walked.
Metro Burb?
Yeah, the Metro Burb.
Okay, yeah.
And then at that moment, everybody will roll their eyes at him, and like yeah, like just like, oh sure, whatever. And I when I listen to him, I guess it's also that creative part of me
Listening
connecting
is
with him.
very important.
Yeah, yeah, listening, and just I felt it. I said, you know what, we can create this somehow. Let's start with the basics. What are the basics? Creating the first cafe area, which is, the heart, what I call the heart of Belware's Nine, is a simple cafe area with a layout of furniture. And I remember in that moment, I went on a weekend to Brooklyn, to the Bronx, and I went to like these places to get furniture, and I just like kind of like went with my gut in a way, and started creating this space and the little string lights, but simple things, but literally that's
But like
what.
impactful. Because I
Yeah,
love the
and
way like the string lights and the tables, and
thank
then
you.
the Bauhaus influence. You can see it
Yeah.
overhead. But the thing that I like the most in that especially that Bauhaus section
Mhm.
are the tubes. How'd you get to the
Mm.
tubes?
Oh, the tube. So The tube, so the main atrium, that's our main atrium, which is huge, is the size of a football field. Imagine that. So when I was asked to design that area to bring like furniture or seating area, I was like, this is hard in a way because the proportion of that space is everything can get lost, anything. So I didn't want to find just anything. I wanted something special, and I started to do my research on like great furniture designers, great furniture, and I found Ron Arad. Ron Arad, he's based in London, and he's one of the most iconic furniture designers of our time. So I went to the Salon de Mobile in Italy because he was having a retrospective
Mm-hmm.
of his work, and I got to meet him, and had my Bellworth brochure with pictures and everything. I just said to him, "Hey, so I'm looking into your furniture. I want to do this space with your furniture.
So you just
Look at
pitched
this
it right there, right? He's
Oh
like,
yeah,
this is the
like right
time.
away. Yeah,
I love
you
that. That's the hustle.
I
Like, we got to get this
oh
done.
yeah,
Okay.
and he was like, "What?" Like looking at the brochure, and but then you could see his eyes started to like open more because he was like, "This place is amazing." Like
Right.
the pictures look, and forward like 1 week later, he was here at Bellworks. He came in person by himself. Like he showed up. He let us know like a day before. He was like, "I'm coming to see this place because I can't believe this." And he came and he was like blown away by the space. He was like, "Wow, it's amazing." So I was like, I want to use this furniture that you created. This one from this collection. I don't remember the name, but he already had designed it. And he said, "No, no, no. We have to do something special. This is a
Mm.
special place. It has to be for the space." And we started the conversation, and then he came back with some ideas about the tubes, like this cylinder, and we work with him for over like a year and a half to perfect this tubes and make sure that it was the right amount. And
They're
then
such
I
like staples. Are they like pillows, right? Like long pillows?
right,
Just to give
they're like
listeners an idea. Yeah.
yeah, they're like lawn pillows and cylinders, I will call.
Okay.
And yeah, and they just look fun. I just love the
Very
shape and
colorful.
color. And then I started looking into what color should I bring, and I looked into Annie Albers and Joseph Albers from the Bauhaus time. I started to look at their work, and I found this Annie Albers uh, textile weaving print she did back in 1929. And I
Mm.
found it, and I looked at it, and it literally looked like what I wanted to create with the tubes, because not only we have the tubes, we have the tile under the tubes is an Joseph Albers graphic.
Hmm.
So it was already kind of like meant to be. So I thought, why not bring the colors from the Annie Albers? She was the wife of Joseph Albers. Like, how cool is to have that whole installation with the furniture, the tile, and that's what we did. And it feels so right now. When you look at it from above,
Yeah.
from like your from the fifth floor, it looks like art, and it just
It
feels
is
right.
art.
So
Because that's
yeah, it
when
is
I
art.
when I look at it, like because I went to the MPC Studio Plus site and I was just getting lost in all of the beautiful photography. And I'm a sucker for interior design. Like, I'm the guy that's like going to the Guggenheim and I'm looking up and I'm looking down, or the old Whitney, the ceilings on the old Whitney, and then walking around the new Whitney. And like, I love that, so when I
Oh,
see all
good.
this photography, or even when I'm watching a film, or there's this show, it's called Where We Call Home, where they like
Hmm.
recreate all these, they redesign these commercial properties in
Hmm.
unconventional ways, but they turn them into homes. I'm sure you're familiar with the show.
Hmm.
But I'm looking at the art on the wall, so it's like
Hmm.
when I look at your studio's website, I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, look at that piece of art, and look at that wall, and look at that. So
Hmm.
to see what you did from 5 floors up, where you essentially have this installation piece of art that people can look down
Hmm.
and then now
Hmm.
learning the story behind it, it just makes all
Yeah.
the difference.
Oh, good. Thank you. And then if you sit on it, it's like the whole experience because now
Yep.
it's art that is functional
Oh yeah, I
too.
saw your picture where you was like stunting, where you like leaning back on one of the pillow on one of the cylinders.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I saw
that's
that
me.
with the boots. You know, you had the flat
Yeah.
boots on.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
you are an award-winning interior designer, and so I want to throw a few things out there that like the importance of, and then you tell me when it comes to interior design,
Mhm.
why is it important? We'll just kind of riff on it. So
Okay.
let's say plants. Why are plants important in a space?
Plants are essential for me. They bring nature inside, and I'm a believer of the bringing the outdoor to the interiors.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel that they just give this freshness and to spaces. And I think my love for I always love plants. I'm from Colombia. I mean, we're plant
What
lovers.
part of Colombia?
I'm from Bogota,
Okay,
from the
excellent,
capital,
beautiful.
but I always had plans. But now, when I started this project, especially Belvers, because of the concrete and all these like hard surfaces that are inside this building, I knew that plants had to be part of it.
Absolutely.
And then I went to Florida and handpicked all of the trees that we have now inside the
So those
building.
are
I
all shipped
learned
from Florida.
yeah, I
Wow, and
went to
that's
a
a huge
nursery.
space. Wow.
Yeah, so and now when now having these beautiful trees and plants and everything that we have in the building and in the buildings that I design, it's just it changes the mood. People, we get feedback that people are like, we love the the trees, the plants. It just feels good. The air, I don't know, something about plants. It's just it's good vibes. And so I always tell people if you you know, if you are going to add something to your space, make sure plants is part of it, like part of your budget, because you don't need anything else, just plants and
Yeah.
and some comfortable seating, and that's it. Yeah.
And so the next thing, if we're gonna go to plants, the next thing would be lighting. So talk about
Lighting.
lighting.
Lighting, I love natural lights if as much as possible, you know, using the natural light and having the right light. But if you don't have the natural light, using a great uh, pendant or a nice lamp that has like something subtle, also lighting, having the right color temperature for your light is super important. I know that some people like use really bright light, and that to me is like a mood killer. You have to have it like
Mm.
in the 2700K
Oh, now
vibe.
you're talking that technical talk. Get the Kelvins. You getting into Kelvins on them? Okay.
Yes, just in case.
Yeah, this
But
they
yeah,
know. They know. They know.
keeping it warm and
Yeah.
cold. Yeah, I think lighting it really makes or can break a
So
moment.
like, let's just say, where are some of your go tos to find pieces? Like, is it certain boutiques or places that you go that you say this would be a good place to get a lamp for your space that's creative and
Right.
not over the
Well,
top expensive?
right. So I try to go to places that are quality, you know, because I feel like, especially in design, it's better to spend a little bit more
Yeah, buy it
that
once.
and buy once and it's forever. So I love going to the classic places like Design Within Reach,
Mm-hmm.
different websites that I also find. But I really get inspired too by going to different like shows when the are like the different brands are showing their work. And then I love this brand. I actually use it in my projects a lot. It's called Apparatus.
Apparatus.
Um, yes.
Okay, cool.
So, oh, they this is the most beautiful lighting that I ever
I'll put a
found.
link on the site. I'm gonna add a link and
Yeah.
I got all your information, so I'm gonna add all that to the website as well. Yeah.
Apparatus, yes. And if you ever get a chance to go to their showroom, it's absolutely amazing.
They
It's
have one
in,
in New York?
yep,
Oh, say
it's
less.
like I want to live there. Just that's like I will live in that showroom. So it's a beautiful brand. It's made in New York, and they just the thought process behind everything and just feels like old school, but it also new. It's very elegant, but
Okay.
not stuffy.
Yes.
It's just the perfect balance. So I love
So
apparatus.
let's talk about meaningful objects because it sounds like they have a lot of meaningful objects that you'll be like, oh, I like the way that looks. And how does that add to the
Mhm.
vibe to a space?
So meaningful objects, I mean, I think it depends on your taste, what's meaningful for me. It might be not for you, but like for your space, I think for someone's space, it's whatever makes you happy. I love good lighting, good lamps. I also love art. Just things that feel good, and also I like spaces that feel layered, and that is like things that you collect, kind of like collecting from your travels or from places that makes you happy. So I think it depends, but I love spaces that makes you, if you go in, makes you wonder, and you're curious to know where did that come from, and this
Hmm.
and that. But
The story.
that's yeah, the storytelling in a way. And to me, that's how a beautiful space is.
Uh, uh,
It's a story.
and then we can't neglect color. Like I'm looking at all this photography, and you understand color in a real way. Like every scene, like even I was looking at a night at the diner, the Zucker
Oh
family
yeah.
gala. Like even the color in that with the popcorn and the black and white and the checkerboard and the red and the
Hmm.
white. I mean, talk to me about color in a space.
I think color is essential for any design. For me, I always start my projects uh, with color mood board, color palette, all of these, because it's a way to guide you into what the space or the event or the even the social media branding will look like. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, it's so important. I love color. I love, just it just makes me happy. I think my mind, when I see beautiful color, just goes like boom. Like, so to me, it's important to have this identity with the color, especially for everything that is visual. It's just you need to have, and also making sure that the colors go together, that
I think that's the
the
important part where like it's just there's
yeah.
this marriage between colors, and sometimes when I'm working on creative things, like I'll look at a sneaker, or I'll look at
Hmm.
a painting, or I'll look at a business card that somebody once gave me, a website, or even if I'm like I tell some of you people earlier in their journeys where I'm like, just walk through the grocery store. Somebody got paid
Hmm.
hundreds of thousands of dollars to design that cereal box, and all the
Hmm.
colors need to go together.
Yeah, there is like a language like they have to, the undertones, the tones. So I am very I think I'm very good with that in a way,
You are
because
extraordinarily good with that.
love, thank you. And I love color. You should see my studio now. It's like a whole colorful space, and it's just, it makes me happy. And I think clients also love that I can bring this type of, like, it's a bold statement into the projects, to say, hey, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do it, and they're like, okay.
Yeah.
But I'm bold into that, but I know it's gonna work. I know it will help. And it's just, you need color. It lifts your mood too. It's like
Yeah, I
there's like
mean,
a psychology.
I'm
Yeah.
seeing what you did with Dimensional Dental, and I'm like, I can get my teeth done there. Like that looks amazing. I don't
Exactly.
feel
And
like
that
it's like
was,
I'm afraid. I'm like the design, and it just feels very welcoming.
thank you. No, and that was the brief that the client gave us, that they didn't want to, they wanted the space not to feel like a dentist office, and like they wanted like a, so like a mellow zen vibe. And I took that,
And
and just created that.
was that your idea to put the glass where you can see someone being in the chair, or was that their idea?
It was there. I mean, it was there, but I think they have shades, so they can hide it
Okay,
if someone
gotcha.
doesn't feel comfortable. Yeah,
That looks kind of
yeah.
bugged out. But
Yeah.
what I do want to, this is kind of a tangent, but it's something that crossed my mind when I realized that the show Severance was shot at Bellworks. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I wanted to ask you, like, how did it feel to have all of your life just totally removed? Like, I'm watching, I'm like, wow, they just like made it this like
Mm-hmm.
three colors of like monotone. It's like green and gray
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit of blue, and that's it. So, like,
Yeah.
how did that feel watching the show where you're like, that's another way,
Oh,
that's another stab at
it,
a space?
yeah. It feels. I mean, it felt weird, obviously, and I was like, oh my god, uh, that makes this space look so, like, I don't know, sad in a way. And then I realized, of course, it's a show,
It's
but
fiction, yeah.
it's fiction. Then I walk in, but even when they're shooting, because they do this here, and I'm sometimes I'm here when they have done the shooting and seeing like the tubes gone or the color, and I'm like, oh, it just feels dark in a way,
It
and it
is. It's
makes
a
me,
dark show.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
dark, and it makes me realize the importance of design and color, and it kind of like confirms that we need the vibe, the
Yeah,
right
like
vibe,
I feel
because
like you're doing everything right, and then they're like, "What if we took everything that she did away, and then
yeah,
make it this really drab experience?" You know?
yeah, it's that's what it is, and I think for the show it works perfectly. Otherwise, it wouldn't be Severance, but
Right, right.
it just it's just, yeah, they take everything down, all the art, all the color, all the lights. My string lights go away. Like during the shooting days, it's like I don't want to come to Bauer. I don't want to see
You're like, I don't
it.
want to. Like you walk
I
in,
don't
you're
want to
like,
see
I'm
it.
taking the side door. I don't want to see
Yeah,
what.
I don't want to see what they're doing. It's
Yeah, you
just,
just extracted life out of my
yeah.
work, but did they put it back
Hmm.
exactly the way it
Oh
was?
yeah, oh
Okay.
yeah. They put it perfectly back, which is amazing too, because they probably do. I don't know how they put everything back, but a lot of pictures of the
Yeah,
before to make sure that, yeah, and then everything goes back, and it's like, oh, okay.
I like the little minor, not minor, but little small details like that. That lip, it looks like a kiss. The seat,
Oh
the
yeah,
red
the
seat,
lips.
the lip
Oh yeah,
seat.
yeah, the lips sofa. Yeah, so those I love. I always like this whimsical, fun pieces that have like a meaning, and so those lips are based from the Boca lips that were like designed in the 60s in Italy. And I went to school in Italy, and I saw them at a museum one time, and then I always loved them. I don't know, I think they're cute, sexy, fun. And then I had the opportunity to have them here, and I said, you know what, this is the moment, this is very me.
Wow,
This
wow.
is like a staple. It has history. It's from the 60s, so I can connect it somehow. And we have them, and it's like people love them. They take pictures. They sit. I mean, they're fun.
Is
And
there
and
are there ever resistance to ideas you may have where you have this vision but someone doesn't see it, and any of your clients, like how do you go about saying like trust me, or you just sometimes you just lose the war or the battle?
well, I think there was here, not from the client, but from people surrounding the client.
Okay.
And there was sometimes like this, like, um some, like, yeah, resistance of like, why spend this on this, or why do this. And fortunately, the visionary, uh Ralph, the who is the developer, he understands design, and he was like, we're gonna do it, we're gonna trust Paola, we're gonna get it done, this works. And I think having a client with that vision and with that, like, that love for design is very important, because they
Absolutely.
know it's gonna work. And that was fantastic for me, because of course there's a lot of naysayers. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people who are, why, and I just knew that this is what we needed to do. And now it's like, it's good. Now we're 95% leased. The building is full.
Beautiful.
So that just shows that design does work, that bringing color, life, music, people,
Events.
dogs,
Uh-huh.
everything,
Joy
everything.
Z in the house.
Joy Z and Coco, my my ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's important, and I know those are the things that I love, and I think that works.
And let's talk about the importance of research in the sense of like how, because I mean sometimes people just like, what are these, just your ideas, not knowing that like there's
No,
levels to
no.
your, because I can see like everything from your travels to your research, your due
Hmm.
diligence is showing up in a tangible
Yeah.
state, but they may not
Yes.
see that. All they see is like an email or a worksheet, or,
No.
so talk
Oh
about
yeah.
that.
So I think I've been researching for this project since like my whole life, because I've
Okay,
been
got you.
putting it in here, from my growing up in Colombia, from like traveling to different countries and this. So when I started this project, I every project I have to do research on what this building was and the innovations and this, and then how to bring it that to this moment. And I think that's the part that people don't see, but I've done so much research, and even walking through here now, like the offices that I design, you see there's like hints of the past, but now in this moment, like in a modern way. So there's like Charles Eames chairs,
Mm.
and but there's this new furniture collections that I mix, and there's this all these references that I put in that are so important to me.
That like if
And
you know, like, oh, that's a
if
Charles
you know,
Eames.
you know,
Yeah, that's a
yeah, and
okay.
there,
Yeah, that's a Zaha
yeah,
Hadid painting. Yeah,
yeah,
okay, gotcha.
exactly. So, and I mean, for me, it's like the people who want to learn, they will find out what it is,
Right.
and who are curious. And I design for the curious mind. That's what I want to do.
Mm.
I want to, yeah, I design, that's for sure. Like, I want people to feel curious when they come in. Why is that there? Let me look into it. Why is that book in about
Yes.
the Bauhaus life in here? Let me look in, and there's all these layers of of references in my work that
Yep.
I love. That's how I love to design.
That's
And
the first thing I do. Like if I go to someone's home and they have like a library, I'm gonna
Mhm.
gravitate to their books just to see
Yeah.
their coffee table, and sometimes
Hmm.
I'll even take a picture because I'm like, oh, I want to check that out later or what have you. Because you can tell a lot about a
Oh
person
yeah.
by the eye, and I love it because sometimes they have these jewels that I like. I never heard of this. I didn't know this
Yeah.
existed. You know, that kind of
Hmm.
thing.
And that tells you a lot about the person.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, and the same here about the space. So I do a lot of research, and even for the cafe that we created and that we always this cafe that I'm keep talking about, we always keep like
What's the name of the
refreshing,
cafe?
adding. Well, we call it now Barbella Inverno.
Barbella. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, this place is like I always think of these places that I went in Madrid or in Italy, or
Mm-hmm.
like they're bustling, there's like life, and how to bring that here. And that I think is part of the research, of bringing elements of my life and things that inspire me in other places, and just continuing that. Like now we have an art gallery too, so I always think of all those galleries that I've been visiting through my
Wow.
life that inspire me. So it's research is adding, it's like my forever mood board, like the
It
things that
feels
I
that way. It feels like you have an
love.
idea, you can make it tangible right there. Is
Yes.
is it like that where like they're like, whoa, you can't do that. That's expensive, or they just like go for it.
The- yeah, but it's kind of like also like I get to do a lot of things because I'm very creative, and when you're creative, you know how to like use your budgets or things like that. You don't
Hundred
have to
percent.
be crazy, spend a lot to do great things in a way sometimes. Like for example, like I have a great people that come to me and say, I want to do this, let's collaborate on something, or like an artist, or like event, to do some events. And I think that's the synergy that I put out there, that let's talk like collaborations in a way. So these things, sometimes they're, it's just people wanting to do good things, and it's good for
And
everybody.
it happens organically. Like I
And
saw
it happens organically.
the artist
Yeah.
you do the artist talks with, and I
Yeah.
see their work behind you as you're talking. I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's great. And they, and most of them, I think all of them, they always find me in a way. They're always like looking for a place to put their art or to express themselves, and I'm like, let's do it. I'm
That's
like,
beautiful.
yes. Like I'm 100% supported. Like that's so I think these things is like just like connecting with the right people, like the right vibe.
And so in my doing my research, I learned that you live by the quote, ego is not your amigo.
Yes.
Break that down.
Ego is not your amigo. I think that's very important to me, because I'm always like the type of person that loves to do everything, a little bit of everything,
Mm-hmm.
and no work is small for me. And like I'm always like so grateful of what I am right now, and but I also have like been in every job possible in the world, like
Right.
so I'm very humble, and I'm always think like, to continue doing what I do, I have to stay like humble, and ego is not my amigo. And I tell that to myself, I tell that to my team, I tell that, I just like, I like to be, I like to always have my feet on the ground in a way, because I also like to enjoy the ride. I don't know, I'm saying all these cheesy quotes in a way,
No,
but
I can see
it's
that though. I can see if I designed, like if I did interior design for a 2 million square foot space, and I'm like, I did this. Yeah, you can't touch me. Like, I be feeling like Denzel and,
no, I like to keep myself like grounded and enjoying like things, and yeah, and just like humble. I don't know
and
why.
that's pretty clear in all the various interviews that I've seen. It just felt like you were just talking, but clearly, if you wanted to, you could walk around with the big hat and be like, "Excuse me, do you know who I am?"
Imagine. Oh no, I
No, I
don't.
know. I'm
I
probably
don't.
making
Yeah.
it awkward just saying that, but yeah.
No, but yeah, I think it's important to, be proud. It's important to be proud of the accomplishment, but also be like down to earth, and just like, it helps me mentally. I don't know why, but it does help me.
What is one of the biggest misconceptions people have about being a creative director, a lead designer, award-winning interior designer? Like, what's something that people do not understand? Do they just think that you look at color palettes all day, and you like, what do they not understand? Like, what you do for real?
I think maybe a misconception is that it just comes very easily, and that there's no research behind, like what we just spoke about. Like, it's just like, oh, data, like I have like a little, how do you say,
Like a
the
template or
magician,
something?
yeah, like
Yeah.
a magician,
Okay,
like the
yeah. A
little,
magic wand. Yeah.
yeah, magic one is just ding, these are the cards. And I think that's a little bit of a misconception in the creative fields like this. Also, like, because I do put a lot of emphasis on the research part, and the meaning, having meaningful uh projects, and making sure it has a meaning. And I think that's the part that sometimes it's like, oh, she just went and bought that sofa, because, and it's not like that, like there's a
Right.
lot of like things
And
behind it.
I would even
And
guess like acquiring materials and even vendors and actual people to install the idea properly so it does stand out the way it's
oh,
supposed to stand out. I'm sure there's an art to that.
it's hard. And yeah, and it's also, it's hard to kind of like, because I'm very detail oriented. That's one of my things. That I see everything that is wrong sometimes, and that is also a moment that, like, with getting the vision done, it takes a lot of time, or it takes a lot of like going back and forth to make sure, because
Have you ever
there's a
done something and be like, I don't like this at all. We got to do it over.
no, I haven't gotten to that point,
Okay, good.
because I don't let it get to that point because of
Okay.
that reason, because I'm so detail oriented, because I'm like it. And some people or vendors or people, like, they want to see if you will accept something else, a different color, a different shade, a different tree, a different look, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
has to be this
Or
one.
a cheaper
And
quality of
or
material.
cheap, especially that, yeah, a
Okay,
lot of
gotcha. Trying to do the
and
bait and
I'm
switch.
yeah, and I can't. I am no. There's a reason why there's this type of light,
Yeah.
and there's the one that they sell somewhere else, because it's not the same. It's not the same. So
And
I
they
am
kind of think you don't know that you haven't done
right.
your research, so they're just kind of like.
Right.
I remember one
Yeah.
time I was making a book, and the print company sent me this book, and I'm like, you guys must have turned down the quality settings. Why is everything look so
Yeah.
blurry? And then it was like, oh, and then they sent it right back, and everything was crispy. But if I never said anything, I would
Yeah.
have printed
No.
up
You.
1,000 books of this
Mhm.
atrocity. But because I
Mhm.
said something, they was like, oh, so you know? Oh, okay, here's the real book.
100%, and that's why there is a difference in the look, and
Absolutely,
that's
those little
something
details.
and I'm very into details. I'm like that, and
That's clear.
yeah, yeah. So it's important,
So
and I think by this point, everybody understands that there's that I have that eye for that, and there's no more like struggling in a way, but there
Yeah.
was a time.
I mean, they gotta test you. They gotta check your temperature to see if you know what
Yeah,
time it is, and you clearly
right.
do. You clearly do.
Yeah.
What were some of your early influences?
Some of my early influences, well, I'm from Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up with my mom, she's always been very creative. She was designing things from the moment I remember. So watching her design, watching her create like beautiful flower arrangements or um, decorations, that really inspired me because I'm a
Mm-hmm.
visual person, and just being part of it since I was like little, it really influenced me. But also, I'm very into music.
What kind of music?
I all types of music. I
Like, what are you
love
listening
every.
to right now? Like, I was on your Instagram and I saw you posted the Rihanna, the new Vogue cover, and I was like,
Oh, she's.
no, I love that shot. I was like,
Yeah,
when I saw it
yeah,
yesterday, I was like, man, I love how ASAP is, holding their child and how she's just like stepping in front, and just seeing their
yeah.
journeys, and I just love the composition.
Hmm.
So to see that you posted it, I was like, okay, you know what time it is.
Yeah. So I love her. But yeah, no, I love all types of music right now. I'm listening. I love a lot of like the new reggaeton people coming out, like the Latin artists. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
very into Kali Uchis. I don't know if you heard of her. Obviously Bad Bunny. I'm obsessed with him.
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and Rosalia. Rosalia is a really great new artist from Spain, and she does the kind of like the flamenco, but now with a pop kind of like vibe. She's always on my thing too when I need like energy and good vibes and what I love to call tra tra tra, which is
Okay.
like getting things done. I always listen to Rosalia, but I mean my musical, like I love everything. I have like in every moment of my life I remember like a different like stage of my life, like an artist, you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
so I have influences from rock, like when I was really little, remember listening to Guns N' Roses because my brothers loved Guns N'
Yep.
Roses, but then growing up, trying to learn English when I moved to the United States, so I started to listen to hip hop a lot because I remember I moved in 1997 to Miami, and I remember Biggie and
Yeah.
Jay Z were in,
Golden
and
era. Yeah.
I loved it. I didn't understand half of it, but I just loved the beat, and I started like just mumbling and learning, and then Beyonce, and then Destiny, like everything,
Right.
like
Right.
all of
Right.
that. But I'm always like into like good music, good like just good music, good artists, and I don't have like a genre that I'm like more into. But I just like it's like the moments of my life. You
It
know what I
feeds your
mean?
spirit. Yeah, absolutely. There's times where
Yeah.
I'm doing like something very mundane and it'll
Mhm.
get me hype. Or even today, I
Mhm.
was listening, like before this interview, I was just like, I need something to just kind of like set the tone in my spirit. And so I was listening to this Max Rose jazz cut. It was called Effie,
Mhm.
but it's so
Oh.
visual. Like when I'm listening to it, sometimes I'm walking down New York and I'm the guy who's
Mhm.
like doing this like piano fingers or whatever because I'm so into this one song. So I totally get it. Um,
Yeah.
so when you were young, what was something that struck you when you were influenced by your mom, when you were like, I think I'm gonna be a creative?
Um, I think I don't know, just like always doing something. I wanted to always be part of like fun things. So from going like I remember she put me in theater classes like to you know on Saturday morning, and I love just being like with other people and improv, all of that. But
Mm-hmm.
also, then I remember I'm not really good at like I wasn't like the best student, but I knew I wanted to express myself, that I had talent in some way. So I will paint and do these little like really cute paintings, and they were really good. And then I realized I had like some type of talent
Right.
because my mom, my teacher were like, yeah, you're not good at this, but you're really talented at just creating
Yeah.
these fun paintings and drawings. So I knew that I knew that I was more creative, my talent is more into the creative vibe. And then I always love fashions. I'm always been like, I remember my first dream was I want to be a fashion designer, and then I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be an actress, and then I wanted to do like a million things. But
Yeah.
it's always been like creative stuff, and just I'm very stimulated by like watching other creatives, and like I always have to be like out there looking at art, or going to a concert or listening to music, because that's kind of like how I feed my creativity.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the way I just, if it makes me really excited, to do things that are creative, and just feeling that energy, when you feel it.
So
So yeah, so I always kind of knew, since I was little. I was always leaning into that path in a way.
the last question is, and this is a question I ask every guest. Out of all the research, out of all the experience, out of all the travel, the various positions, what has been the most important lesson you've learned so far? And
The
it could be more
most
than one. Like, I don't want, something,
right.
but yeah.
The most important lesson, I think, just always keep learning. I never think that I know everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always keep learning. I'm always like trying to find new ways. I don't like feeling comfortable, or like, oh, this is done. I'm always like thinking, how can I learn something new, and how can I expand my knowledge, and how I'm always like looking for things to add to my career in a way, because I feel like that's how you keep things fresh in a way. So for me, it's always like just searching and looking and getting inspired, and traveling and going here. And right now I'm actually doing like, I'm doing an executive program in London for designers. So if like it's kind of like an MBA for designers, because I'm in that point that I'm running a business now. It's not just me.
Incredible. Right.
Like now I have to do. I need like to do have another hat in my, which is the business owner, entrepreneur. So I didn't go to school for business. I
Right.
went to design. So I'm in that point that, hey, I need to learn more of this, get to know, get inspired by it, and it has been fantastic. I'm gonna finish it in June, but I feel like, wow, all these things that I didn't know, and I'm running this business on my own.
Right.
Yeah.
Always got to
So
upskill.
yeah, I always had to upscale, upgrade. So I think that's my lesson, to keep continue growing in, you know learning and growing. That's important.
That's perfect. And that's it for me. I mean, if you have any final thoughts, but definitely tell us where we can find you and we can wrap it up.
Thank you. No, I think this is fantastic, and thank you for having me. And I love it. Thank you. It's always great to speak to another creative and
Yeah.
enjoy this type of conversations.
Same.
Thank
And
you.
because I feel like everything that we're learning from this conversation from you,
Mhm.
one, people can hear it, but if they discover it, they can click on the link. Because I highly recommend that if you're listening, if you made it this far, because I know everyone's got 1,000 things to do, to check out the photography and check out the links and go down the rabbit hole of all this creative design that we're talking about, because all it's going to do is upscale your existence, if that even
Ah,
makes sense. So beautiful.
thank you.
Um, but Paola, thank you very much. This has been a very, very cool conversation, and hopefully one day I'll stop by Bellworks and
Yeah,
check it
please
out.
do.
That'd be
Anytime.
fantastic. So
Let me know.
I absolutely will. Have a great day, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great night. I
Have a
mean,
great night.
afternoon. Ciao.
Peace.
Bye.
See you later.
See you. Thank you.